All right, I'm going to cover the maintenance pack or the maintenance kit that you can get from John Deere. This is a John Deere 2032r. It's basically like a compact, one of the most popular compact John Deeres you can get for backhoe and loader combination. But you can get the maintenance kit. It's really not that bad. You can get it online for about $50, $55. And I'm going to go through at a high level the different filter locations. I've already gone through all the filters and applied the maintenance kit to this machine, but I wanted to go through it and just show you from a high level what to expect if you're going to do this yourself. First thing is the air filter. Air filter is going to be in this canister right here, and there's a little elastic band bungee cord type strap on the top. You're gonna pull there's a little latch in the back. You can stretch this out and pull this off. That's the first thing you're gonna do. And then this whole assembly is gonna turn up towards the hood more. And then you can take these two clips off, and the front of this plastic canister comes right off. Filter's right in there. You slide the new filter in, and then just tuck it back down where it is here and put the strap back on it. That's pretty much it for the air filter. The oil filter is just like a car. It's on the side, and you can use a filter wrench to get it off. You're gonna wanna spin that off, and then you can either pull the dipstick out to relieve the back pressure, or you can loosen the fill spout area, which is this area here, and that will drain the oil a lot faster because there's no back pressure in the engine itself. If you don't do that, you'll see the oil, when you go to drain the oil in the pan, you'll see it barely come out. So that's a good tip just to speed up the process when you drain the oil. You're gonna spin your filter back on again. Always make sure, this is a really important part with any filters, they have an O-ring seal on them, and a lot of times that seal will stick to the surface and not the filter. So what you'll end up doing is putting on two seals. If you don't realize it's still on there, you put on two seals with the new filter when you spin that on. And of course it won't seal, it's just gonna squeeze out on you when you tighten it down. So make sure you got the old seal off. You throw that away with the old filter, and then make sure when you put the new filter on, you use some fresh oil just to lubricate the new seal, and you put the seal on. These filters are hand tight plus a quarter turn, I usually do. So get it on there hand tight, and then give it a quarter turn more with your hands. You don't have to torque these on with the wrenches because they don't go anywhere just by the way they're on there. So that's the oil filter here for the engine, and then you're gonna drain the oil out of the pan. There's a bolt underneath. I can show you. It's right there. So there's the drain bolt. Again, you're gonna drain the oil, and when you do that, you're gonna make sure to open up the fill area, which is with this fill spout area is the cap here, or you can just pull the dipstick out and let it sit in there so there's air getting into the crankcase and gives it the ability to drain a lot faster. Drain all that oil out, put your new oil in, and you're gonna fill it through here. This is your fill area. You pull this cap off, and then you turn this cap counterclockwise to get it off, and then you put your funnel in there and you put the oil back in. I want to say it holds about 4.5 quarts with the filter. I usually will fill it, and then I'll check it at 4 quarts, and then it'll be towards the bottom of the dipstick in the low area. So I'll put about half a quart more in, and then you're gonna run the machine for about 30 seconds. That's gonna pull all your oil into your filter, and then you recheck it. And you wanna be in the middle of the dipstick. You don't wanna be towards the top or below the bottom area, because that's too low, and the top is gonna be too high, especially when it heats up. So that's the oil for the engine and the filter, and I've covered the air filter, which is up on top. The last filter you're gonna get, well, I shouldn't say the last filter, the other oil filter you're gonna get is gonna be in here. There's a hydraulic filter in there for the machine, and you're gonna just spin that off like an oil filter. And again, check it for the gasket or the O-ring, because when I did this one, the O-ring stuck to the mating surface. It did not stay on the filter. So if I had not realized that and I put that filter on, it would have had two O-rings, and that would be leaking. So that's your oil filter for the machine's hydraulic areas like the transmission, the hydrostatic transmission, and then all the implements that are on the machine. So when you do that one there, you're going to lose a lot of oil unless you do this. So here's a huge tip, and I do this quite a bit on machines when I change out the hydraulic filters. You're going to take a shop vac and you're going to take the fill cap off all the way. So you're going to have the cap off all the way, and then you're going to take the hose of the shop vac with no attachment on the hose and just place it right over the entire fill cap area and turn the shop vacuum on. So what that's going to do is create a vacuum in there, and it's going to hold your oil against the fill tube upper area of the transmission area. So it's going to create a vacuum, which is going to prevent it from draining out of the filter area when you pull that filter off. So the whole procedure is you put the shop vac on and you put it on the fill area, and then you spin your filter off. And if you do it that way, you'll lose half a quart to a quart, and it won't be all over the place. If you don't do it that way, all your oil in the transmission is probably going to be in the pan on the ground, and there's about a lot of oil in there. It's about at least 4 or 5 quarts. If you did it really quick, even you would still lose about 4 or 5 quarts. So that's a huge tip and a huge saver on oil. If you put the shop vacuum on there, it creates a vacuum in the transmission oil area, which prevents it from draining out of the bottom. And then that would save you a lot of oil, at the end of this whole process. So that's a pretty big tip. And then the last filter you're gonna get, I haven't changed this one yet, but this is the diesel fuel filter. So this just spins off like an oil filter, and then the new one spins back on. When you do this one, it's good to fill it with diesel if you have diesel in a can in your garage, because you don't ever want to run a diesel engine out of diesel fuel, because that's what's lubricating the cylinders on the engine. So if you put this back on, and you can do it this way, but I wouldn't recommend it. And if you put this back on and you don't fill it with diesel first, you're going to have air in there, and most likely the engine will stop running, and then it'll purge the air by itself, and then you could turn it on again or turn it over, and it would probably start back up. But what you've just done is run the engine out of fuel, which is not good in a diesel. You don't want to do that. Again, if you can fill it, with some diesel fuel before you spin it back on, that would be better, if you can do that. And that's pretty much it. Like, that's the entire maintenance kit, and you're talking about total time to do all this is about an hour, and that's taking your time with the different filters, and then doing the shop vac thing with the hydraulic filter, and then filling, if you were to fill that diesel filter with fuel before you put it back on, that would be about 1 hour start to finish. And that's pretty much it with the maintenance kit. So you definitely can do it yourself, and again, it's about $55 to buy the kit and about an hour of your time, and you could definitely do it. So hopefully this is helpful to you, and that's about it. So I wanted to add a little bit. Once you're done with the hydraulic filter, you're going to want to top off the hydraulic fluid with any fluid that you drained out of it during the filter change. And the way you do that is you would fill it through here. And on this machine, there's two ways to check the hydraulic fluid. There's a sight glass in the back of the machine, which may or may not be easy to read, because if you have a backhoe on it like this one, you really can't see it easily, but there is a sight glass next to the PTO. And then there's also a dipstick, which is tucked in down here. Let me show it. So the way I would recommend doing this is, if you have the machine apart where you can get to this dipstick, you can use that. That is the most accurate way in my mind. But I'll be honest with you, I did that on this one, and when I looked at the dipstick, it was right in the middle. And when I looked at the sight glass, it was right in the middle. So they're both very accurate. So whichever one is more accessible, you can use. When the machine's not taken apart, I've got the plastic off it in the seat. You won't be able to get to the dipstick very easily. Believe it or not, the way this machine is designed is that this dipstick is here, but nobody knows it's here. So they have a sight glass in the back, which is next to the PTO shaft. And you can use that sight glass, or you can use the dipstick. And again, make sure you're about in the middle of either of those when you do the hydrostatic oil filter. Depending on if you use a shop vacuum or not, you'll lose anywhere from 1 quart to 4 quarts of oil or more if you let that filter sit on, off the machine and no shop vacuum on there. Okay.